Thank you, man. We're going to have a great weekend. We ask you guys take notes, meet people, learn from people, right? You are in a spot where you can grow and grow your business. Now, I want to introduce, to get started, I want to introduce the man that got me into business. In 2001, I was working just fresh out of college. Don't try to do the math. I was working in a boat factory, putting together trailers for Mr. Johnny Morris himself, right? My life was right on track, right? Where my parents paid for college, right? And got married in April of 2001, got laid off in June of 2001, started some marriage counseling, and no, I'm kidding. So kind of had one of those, to get in the business, kind of had one of those pursuit of happiness moments, right? I was going to a little church about 20 miles from here, met a guy that was driving a black Chevy Avalanche, if you remember that truck, right? And it was one of those, I'm like, hey, I like that truck. I don't know what you do. I'm not doing anything, but I want to do that, right? And he said, hey, come up to Mutual of Omaha. We'll run an interview, and we'll get you going. And that got me into it, right? And I tell you what, there's been ups and downs. There's been bumps and all that. It's hard to believe that was 20 years ago. But in 2014, Brian said, listen, we are going to start SIG. I'm like, dude, I don't know what SIG is, but I'm in, right? Because everything that I have seen from Brian, work ethic, all that, I know that if I jump on those coattails, I had a guy recently tell me, hey, so you're just riding the coattails of Brian Askins. I said, abso-freaking-lutely, right? And so I said, look, I don't know what an SIG is, but I'm in. We started. There was 4 agents and Miss Patty running the front office, and now got, 700, 800 agents contracted, right? I have got to watch this man. Yeah, thank you. The best advice he's ever given me is, the best thing that he's ever done for me is lead from the front. Josh and I were talking about this last night. Nobody in our office, and this is a challenge, nobody in our agency outproduces Brian Askins, right? The owner, CEO, how many companies can say that? Nobody in our agents outproduces him. Nobody works harder than him. He's there when the office opens. He usually unlocks the door, and he usually locks the door behind him at night, right? So I've got to watch that. And the best advice he has given me is success is the easiest thing in the world. All you have to do is be successful today and then be successful tomorrow. And if you string enough successful days together, you're going to have a successful career. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to the man that has given me more opportunity than anybody I know, Mr. Brian Askins.
Thank you very much, Dallas. Appreciate it. Hey, this next speaker is a gentleman that I met about 20 years ago. And when Matt and I were driving in the car, and I think I'm not sure where we were headed. And so kind of how this event occurred is Matt and I were talking about, let's have an event. And I said, I'm like, that's a great idea. Okay, Matt, let's make it happen. And so basically, I turned it over to Matt, and Matt has a tremendous team behind him with all the individuals and he'll recognize all those later, but a lot of individuals put a lot of hard work in this, and I've done very, very little involved in this. It's been our team. Our team is absolutely tremendous. This next speaker is named Tom Hegna. It's an absolute honor and a privilege for me to introduce Tom. And when we talked about the main event, the very first thing I said, and Matt will remember this, I said, Matt, if we have the main event, we've got to get Tom Hegna. So we called Tom's office, and I don't know if Tom even knows this or not. We call his office, and it's kind of hard to get Tom. And it's really, really difficult because Tom, he has not done a live event in over a year. And so anyway, so we kept on. We were very persistent, and so finally we got him. But I met Tom about 20 years ago at a Mutual Hall event. He spoke at a mutual event. Tom has written 5 books. He's over 30 years in training retirement. I'm going to kind of name a couple of the books he's written, Paychecks and Playchecks, which you have that book in front of you. Tom signed a few of them right before the meeting. If he did not get a chance to sign yours, if you want to catch him sometime before he leaves, he does have to leave later this morning. So if you get a chance to catch him, to have him sign your book if you'd like to. He also has a book called Retirement Income Masters, Secrets of the Pros. He has another book called Don't Worry, Retire Happy, 7 Steps to Retirement Security. So if you don't have those books, get on Tom Hegna's website and purchase those books. You'll be glad you did. He's conducted over 5,000 live seminars. He's hosted an hour-long special on PBS. I tell you what I love about Tom the most is Tom truly has life in the right perspective, okay? And he realizes what's truly important. And he'll tell you a little bit about that as he talks. But he realizes what's really, truly important in life. And it's family. And some other things that he'll talk about today. But that's what I really, really respect and admire about him. Tremendous educator and has been for many years. This is an opportunity, and I hope you realize this. This is an opportunity to learn from one of the legends of the entire industry. And I say legends, I'm not even coming close to what he truly is. But it's a chance for you to learn about your own personal retirement, a chance for you to learn some ideas to help your clients and their planning for retirements. So if I could ask you to do a couple things here. First of all, sit up, pay attention. I mean, you're about to get a lifetime of an education in 60 minutes, okay? And so if you would, please help me welcome to the stage Mr. Tom Hegna. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much. I think I got this on. We got me live on. So, look, this is my first trip outside of Arizona in 13 months to do a live presentation. So, and we did one last night for clients. So, I thought since I was in town, it would make sense for me to do one for the clients. We did. The room was full over there. And I think it went very well. So, look, a lot of people think this is a knowledge business. I got news for you. This is not a knowledge business anymore. You give me an iPad and the internet in 15 minutes, I can figure out anything I need to figure out. This is now a words business. It's a language business. It's a questions business, and it's questions and tell more stories. And I hope you get some powerful language from me today that you can incorporate. So, as Brian said, I've written 5 books on retirement. My first one is Paychecks and Playchecks. And I will tell you, I'm a reluctant author. I never wanted to write a book. I didn't dream of writing a book. It wasn't on my bucket list. So why'd I write a book? Well, here's why. Because right now, if your clients talk to 50 different financial advisors and ask this very simple question, how should I retire? Or what should my retirement portfolio look like? You know what they're going to get? They're going to get 50 different opinions of what they ought to do. Well, isn't that interesting? See, retirement's been studied in depth by PhDs all over the world. People like Dr. David Babel of Wharton, Dr. Moshe Milevsky of Toronto, Dr. Menachem Yari of Israel, Dr. Michael Fink, and Dr. Wade Pfau, Dr. Robert C. Merton, a Nobel Prize winner published in the Harvard Business Review. Well, guess what? I've read their research. And you know what their research says? There are not 50 optimal ways to retire. There's one optimal way to retire, and that's not my opinion. It's based on mathematical, scientific, and economic facts. So what I'm not going to do today is give you a bunch of my opinions. What I am going to do is lay out the math and science behind a successful retirement. I want to show each one of you how you should retire. Then you can take this information out to your clients and share with them how they should retire. You need to know, I don't sell any financial products. I don't sell annuities. I don't sell life insurance, and I don't sell long-term care insurance. And I really don't care if you buy it or not, but I'm going to show you why you should. The math and science is compelling that people need annuities in their portfolio, they need life insurance, and they need some plan for long-term care. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Now, if I had to tell you the day I decided to write the book, the day was April 4th of April 4th of 2011. At the time, I was a senior executive officer at a Fortune 100 life insurance company. And I woke up that morning, minding my own business, reading the Wall Street Journal, when the headline stuck out. It said, Fed's low interest rate cracks retirees' nest eggs. And this article was all about a guy by the name of Forrest Yeager, 91 years of age, down in Port Charlotte, Florida, down to his last $45,000. He had it sitting in the bank earning 1%. And he said, I'm not going to make it. I'm having to take money out of principal, and I'm going to run out of money. And I'm reading this. I want to say, Forrest, you're 91. Did you know a 91-year-old can walk into any insurance company in America today and buy a SPIA, a single premium immediate annuity? Do you know what the guaranteed payout rate right now in a 91-year-old today is? 20% a year. His $45,000 would have guaranteed him $9,000 every year for the rest of his life. He would have never, ever, ever run out of money. But Forrest didn't know. There were other people in this article, in their 50s, their 60s. They're watching the markets go up and down and up and down. They're all concerned. I said, okay, I got to write a book. So I wrote a book on how to retire the optimal way, based in math and science, not based in opinions. Now, when I say optimal, You need to know that there's a difference between optimal and best. See, nobody knows what's going to be the best. If Bitcoin goes to $1 million a Bitcoin, we should all put our money in Bitcoin. If oil goes to $10,000 a barrel, we should all put our money in oil. If gold goes to $10,000 an ounce, we should all put our money in gold. Nobody knows what's going to be the best. And so it's math and science does when there's multiple variables, they look for the optimal. And the optimal simply means this will be the best more often than anything else will be the best, and it'll never be the worst. So in layman's terms, it's your best chance of having the best. That's what optimal means. That's what I'm going to share with you today, because I don't know what's going to be the best, but I do know what is the optimal way to retire. So the first chapter is simply titled, Whatever Happened to Happily Ever After? You know, you read those stories to your kids and grandkids. What happens at the end of every story? Everybody magically lives happily ever after. Did you know retirement used to be just like that in America? Retirement used to be a promise. You'd work for a company for 30 years. Then what? They'd hold a party. Then what? They'd present you with a gold watch. Then what? They'd give you a guaranteed paycheck every single month for the rest of your life in the form of a pension so that you too could live happily ever after. What happened to that deal? Do you realize less than 9%, I think it's now 4% of your clients have a pension? People don't have guaranteed lifetime income exactly at a time when they need it more than ever. There's 78 million baby boomers heading straight into retirement. Every one of them needs guaranteed lifetime income, and most of them don't have it. And then add to the fact people are living longer. The average 65-year-old male will live to be age 86. The average 65-year-old female will live to be age 89. But what's the problem with averages? That has nothing to do with how long any one of you are going to live. Because, see, life expectancy is not an average at all. If you study life expectancy the way I've studied life expectancy, you're going to figure this out real quick. Life expectancy is simply a midpoint. All it means is that half of the 65-year-old men will die prior to age 86. What about the other half? Half of the 65-year-old women will die prior to age 89. What about the other half? See, they're all still alive. And so half of everyone in this room is going to outlive that life expectancy. And here's another fact. Married people live longer than single people. I don't know why, but it's true. It's a fact. So his life expectancy is age 86. Her life expectancy is age 89. But as a couple, their life expectancy is 93. 50% of all your 65-year-old couples will have somebody live to be 93. 25% of all your 65-year-old couples will have somebody live to be 97. And there will be plenty of people in this room who live beyond age 100. So the first key concept I want to make clear is when you're planning for your clients to retire, you've got to give them income to age 100 and beyond. Another thing, people know how much money they have. I could prove it to you right now. I could have everybody in this room write on this piece of paper, how much money have you personally been able to save from birth until today? And I'll bet everyone in this room, maybe except for Brian, could get that number within what, 500,000 or 600,000, right? So you all know how much money you have. It's just that your clients have no idea what they can expect from that money. See, the market has averaged 12% a year since 1924. So you know what your clients think? I can take out 12% a year, or 10%, or 8%. Well, it used to be 4% was considered safe. That's not safe anymore. What does Morningstar say the safe withdrawal rate from a portfolio is? Anybody know? 2.8%. And Dr. Wade Faust says it's 2.4%. Well, your clients can't understand that. If the market's average 12%, how come I can only take out 2.8? It doesn't even make sense in their minds because they don't understand the order or sequence of returns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shake the ladder a little bit. I want to challenge your thinking. I want to show you some things you may not have seen before in a way that you haven't seen before. And I'm going to start right here. And I picked out a 22-year period of time. It looks like these are old dates, but the reason they picked these 22 years is because it clearly shows the order and sequence of returns risk. So here's a guy. In 1973, he had $100,000. He invested 50% stock, 50% bonds. For the next 22 years, he averaged 10.2% a year for 22 years. So 10.2% in a diversified portfolio for 22 years, that's a pretty good rate of return, right? And you can see his $100,000 grew to be worth $846,000. And if we ran the numbers backwards, he still averaged 10.2% or 10.1% for 22 years. He still wound up with a boatload of money. That's the way most people think the stock market works. And that is how it works when you're a saver and an investor. But that is not how the stock market works the day you retire. The day you retire, average returns mean nothing. So the next slide I'm going to show you is a guy who also had $100,000 in 1973. He also invested 50% stock, 50% bonds. He also averaged 10.1% a year for 22 years. But the next guy retired in 1973. And his broker told him he could take out 5% per year. Now, come on, if you did actually earn 10.1% a year, average that for 22 years, you could certainly take out 5% a year, right? Wrong. He's dead broke. He ran out of money. Now, how can that happen? How can you average 10.1% a year for 22 years, only take out 5% a year and go dead broke just like that? It's because average returns don't matter in retirement. There's only one thing that matters, and that's the order or sequence of those returns. And you can see in the orange line what happened those first few years. The market went down, down, down. Here's the deal. If it's your turn to retire, and you have a diversified portfolio, and you're taking money out of that portfolio, in the first 3 years of your retirement, the market goes down, 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 you are highly likely to run out of money. Conversely, if you invest your money and the first 3 years of retirement, the market goes up, 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 you're highly likely to be successful in retirement. But here's the problem. None of us know in those 2 or 3 years that the market's going to go down. But I can tell you this, when markets are at all-time record highs or near all-time record highs, this sequence of returns risk is bigger than ever. Because when markets are at all-time highs, what is the next thing that is probably going to happen at some point? Market's going to go down. And you got these 78 million baby boomers. They don't understand this is one of the biggest risks in retirement. And then this is another way of showing it to you, and it's going to go against everything you've always been taught. You know how I know? Because it goes against everything I was always taught. See, I was always taught 60-year-olds should invest more conservative than 40-year-olds, and 80-year-olds should invest more conservative than 60-year-olds. Isn't that what you were taught? That's what I was taught. That's not what this shows. See, both of these portfolios have identical returns, identical. What's the only difference? The only difference is the red portfolio lost money early in retirement. It devastated their retirement. The blue portfolio lost money later in life. It had much less of an impact. So if you had to say to me, Tom, when is the riskiest time for me to invest my money? I'm going to tell you it's not when you're 87. It's when you're 57 or 67. See, if you lose money right before or right after retirement, it can devastate your entire retirement. So what I'm telling you is when you're sitting down with people in their 50s and 60s, that's the riskiest time for them to invest. That's why they need to put guarantees in that portfolio. These aren't my opinions. These are based on mathematical, scientific, and economic facts. And then inflation can have a dramatic negative impact on purchasing power. This shows $1,000 of purchasing power. At 4% inflation, will be cut by more than 50% in 20 years. It'll be cut by more than 2/3 in 30 years. Even at 2% inflation, 1% inflation, purchasing power declines pretty rapidly. So the second major concept is when you're setting up a retirement portfolio for somebody, you've got to also take inflation into account. Now, I'm not a big believer that we're going to have rampant hyperinflation right now. Yes, lumber prices are up, oil prices are up, gas prices are up. There's certain pockets of the economy where we're having some temporary inflation. But I believe the world is still facing deflation overall. And we pumped all these trillions of dollars, and we're just getting a little bit of inflation. I mean, what's going to happen when the dollar stops printing and when the dollar stops spending? Things are going to come down dramatically. So I think we're going to see short-term inflation, longer term maybe deflation, but there will always be sectors of the economy where prices are going up. Do you think long-term care costs are going down? Do you think college costs are going down? They should, but they're not. So you've always got to put an inflation protection into that portfolio. So there's a lot of risks in retirement. There's market risk. We've sure seen that. There's withdrawal rate risk. People can take out too much money. They'll eventually run out of money. That order sequence of returns risk that people don't understand. We might have inflation. We might have deflation. We know they're going to raise your taxes. We know taxes have to go up. Our country's $28 trillion in debt, climbing at $3 to $4 billion every single morning. We have over $200 trillion of unfunded obligations for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, military pensions, government pensions. Taxes have to go up. It's not a Republican or Democrat thing. It's a math problem. We need a math party, quite frankly. We need a party that can add and subtract because neither one of these parties can seem to do it. But taxes are going to have to go up. So I have been personally converting my IRAs and 401ks to Roth. I have been moving more of my wealth into cash value life insurance so that I have tax-free income in retirement. If you don't know David McKnight and the Power of Zero, you ought to get his book, you ought to read it, because his message is going to be more powerful every single day. You've got to give people tax-free income in retirement. Just so you know, I own 11 annuities, And many of those annuities are Roth. I've already converted them. So I'm going to have tax-free income for the rest of my life in those Roth IRAs and in that cash value life insurance. You might need long-term care. You might die. There's a lot of risks in retirement. But there is only one number one risk in retirement. Which of those risks is hands down, nothing's even close. The number one risk in retirement is longevity risk. But why? It's because longevity is not just a risk. It's a risk multiplier of all the other risks. Do you understand? The longer you live, the more likely the market will crash. The longer you live, the more likely you'll take out too much money. The longer you live, the more likely we'll see inflation. The more likely you'll raise your taxes. The more likely you're going to need long-term care. So with the PhDs who study retirement, and they are unanimous saying this, to retire optimally, you must take longevity risk off the table. If you get nothing else out of my first 15 minutes, get that. You must take longevity risk off the table. Well, guess what? Stocks can't do that. Bonds can't do that. Real estate can't do that. Bitcoin cannot do it. CDs can't do it. Okay, well, what can do it? It's a pretty short list. A lifetime income annuity can do it. A deferred income annuity can do it. Or an income withdrawal benefit rider from a fixed index, or variable annuity can do it. That is it. What do all those products have in common? One word: annuity. What all the research I can find from the top PhDs in the world who have studied retirement says this: to retire optimally, you must put an annuity into that portfolio. Why? Because only an annuity can take longevity risk off the table. Why? Because only a life insurance company can issue an annuity. Why? Because only a life insurance company sells life insurance to be on the other side of that risk. Let me ask you a question. What is the risk to an insurance company when you sell a life insurance policy, life insurance? What's the risk to the company? That the person dies, and they die real soon. You sell $1 million term policy, and the next day, bam, that guy gets hit by a bus. The insurance company's out $1 million. The guy died too soon. Hey, what's the risk to an insurance company when you sell a lifetime income annuity? That they live too long. She's 115, and she won't quit breathing, and every month she's breathing, those checks got to go. Do you understand? Because an insurance company is on both sides of the mortality and longevity risk scale, they are the only ones that can protect you from dying too soon with life insurance or living too long with guaranteed lifetime income. And oh, by the way, that is a mathematical, scientific, and economic fact. You know, I spoke for MDRT in Singapore about 8 years ago, and the day before I spoke, I got interviewed by Asia Insurance Review. And they said, Tom, we've reviewed your material, and we're very concerned about U.S. life insurance companies that are selling these guaranteed paychecks for life. I said, really? They said, yes. We believe medical technology is developing so rapidly that soon people are going to live to be 100, 110, 120, maybe even 130 years of age. And if these companies are guaranteeing paychecks for life, they're all going to go broke. And I just smiled and I said, well, you got it half right. You're right. They will be paying a lot of lifetime income, but guess what? They won't be paying any death claims on all those life insurance policies they wrote. Do you understand? Because an insurance company is on both sides of the mortality and longevity risk scale, they're the only ones that can neutralize those risks to the clients and to themselves. It's a key concept that you want to understand. So, those are the problems. What are the solutions? Well, let's take a look. Paychecks and Playchecks concludes with 4 simple steps, and you can use these 4 simple steps with any retiree, and you implement these 4 simple steps, you will increase their success in retirement. Step number 1, you need to make sure they have their basic living expenses covered with guaranteed lifetime income. So ask them, how much money do you need to live your normal retirement? What do you need for housing, for food, for clothing, for cell phone, for internet? Any normal trips that you take, that should be covered with guaranteed lifetime income. Now, there are 3 sources of guaranteed lifetime income. Social Security counts. Why? Because it's a lifetime income annuity. It's a guaranteed paycheck for life. When people say they don't like annuities, I say, seriously? You're telling me you're going to call up the Social Security Administration and say, I paid into that for 35 years, but I don't want that check. Don't send me any of those checks. I don't like annuities in this house. Are you seriously going to do that? Pensions count. Why? Because a pension is a lifetime income annuity. You're going to seriously, you work for that company for 42 years, you're going to call up the HR department to cancel your pension because you don't like annuities? Well, I guess I like those kind of annuities. It's just those insurance company annuities I don't like because that's the 3rd source. The rest, if they have shortfall, that's where the annuity fits, to cover their basic living expenses. You see, the reason that some people say they don't like annuities, they think the fees are too high. Do you realize most annuities are not even fee products? A single premium immediate annuity is not a fee product. If they're guaranteed $1,000 a month for the rest of life, that's exactly what they're going to get. A deferred income annuity is not a fee product. If they're guaranteed $1,000 a month for the rest of life, that's exactly what they're going to get. A base fixed index annuity is not a fee product. A fixed annuity is not a fee product. There's only really two types of annuities that even have fees. Variable annuities have fees, and some optional income riders have fees. But that doesn't mean they're bad. It means you have to weigh out what is the fee versus what is the guarantee. Remember, the only reason there's a fee in any annuity is because I got guarantees that stocks and bonds and mutual funds and ETFs do not have. Now, I told you I own 11 annuities. Why do I do that? Well, I own 3 variable annuities. Now, those are the bad ones with the high fees. Why would I do that? Well, I guess I haven't told this group yet, but I'm pretty much retiring, okay? So I did a trial retirement 2 summers ago to see if I liked it, and I liked it. So then I did a trial retirement last summer, and I really liked it. So now I'm kind of going to go into retirement. So I'm really not going to do many live events anymore. I'll do webinars, I'll do virtual, but I'm not going to do in-person stuff because I'm working on my golf game and stuff like that. So if I have enough money right now to retire for the rest of my life, let me ask you a question. What is the stupidest thing I could do? Lose my money. That would be the stupidest thing. Can you imagine? I work, I save, I invest for 40 years, and then all of a sudden when I retire, the market crashes, takes a dump, and stays down for 15 or 20 years. That would be the stupidest thing I could do. See, I don't think I'm any different than any of your clients who have money. You know what I want to do with my money? I want to make as much as I can make. If I can make 10%, 20%, 30%, I want to make as much as I can make, but at the same time, I don't want to lose what I've already got. Well, let me see. Vanguard can't do that for me. Fidelity can't do that for me. Mr. Ken Fisher cannot do that for me. But that's what you can do for me. That's what annuities do for me. Do you realize that last year there were hundreds of variable annuity subaccounts that were up over 20 and 30% after fees? Well, you know what? If I can make 20 or 30% after fees, I'm okay with that. Because when the market goes down 20, 30%, I don't lose all my money. I have an income benefit guarantee or withdrawal benefit guarantee or a cash value guarantee on some variable annuities. I own 3 fixed index annuities. Now, why do I own fixed index annuities? Well, there's a PhD, you ought to look him up, Roger Ibbotson. Roger Ibbotson did a study. And he studied the 60% stock, 40% bond portfolio, and he compared it to a 60% stock, 40% index annuity portfolio. You know what he found? The index annuity portfolio outperformed the bond portfolio for the last 40 years and is likely to do so for the next 40 years. So even if you got your clients to simply move their bonds into a fixed index annuity, their performance is going to be better. And then I own multiple income annuities. Why do I own income annuities? Because retirement's all about income. It's not about assets. It's all about income. If you have enough income coming in, you can do whatever you want. You see, I see way too many people, most of your clients, by the way, in retirement are not overspending. They're underspending. They've got all this money, they don't even touch it. You know, I used to be an advisor, and I walk out, and all the people have this money, and I said, are you using your money? No, we're not. I said, well, wait a minute. You told me when you retired you're going to join the country club. You're going to buy a new boat. You're going to go see the world. Have you done that? No, we haven't. You know, interest rates are so low, this market's so volatile. So they're living what I call a just-in-case retirement. And they don't touch their money, and they don't touch their money, and they don't touch their money, and they don't touch their money. Then they die. What happens to money? Goes to kids. What do kids do with it? They join the country club. They buy a new boat. They go see the world. Look, I make it very clear in all my seminars. I want the client to join the country club. I want the client to see the world. I don't want them to live a just-in-case retirement. See, I don't care how many millions of dollars you got stashed in some account somewhere. If you're living this just-in-case retirement, it will do nothing for your retirement. So you cover your basic living expenses with guaranteed lifetime income, but why? It's because you take 5 key risks off the table. You take longevity risk off the table because it's a guaranteed paycheck no matter how long you live. You take deflation risk off the table because if you're getting a paycheck and we go into a deflationary economy like the rest of the world, it's one of the best things to own in a deflationary economy. There's no market risk. There's no withdrawal rate risk. There's no order sequence of returns risk. You take 5 key risks off the table in retirement simply by covering their basic living expenses with guaranteed lifetime income. You know, BlackRock, you wouldn't think they'd be positive on annuities. They sell investments. But here's what BlackRock says. Many guaranteed income products can ensure the stream of income from a given amount of savings will not run out or be diminished by market returns. Dr. Michael Finke, Dr. Wade Pfau, 2 of the smartest PhDs in the world on this subject. If the reason you save for retirement was to provide a secure lifestyle, there's no more efficient way to create lifetime income than through an annuity. Purchasing an income annuity with a portion, I've never said put all your money, a portion for the average person is going to be 20 to 40% of their portfolio should go into some type of income annuity. And by the way, I'm agnostic. Whether you use a SPIA, a DIA, a fixed index annuity, a VA, I don't care. That's up to you and your client. What's best for them? I want to make sure they have guaranteed lifetime income. Purchasing an income annuity with a portion of retirement savings can provide a higher potential for success, greater legacy wealth over the long term, and increased risk capacity. What does that mean? That means I have about 65% of my wealth in annuities and life insurance. Well, with life insurance, probably more than 65, but I got about 65% of my wealth in income annuities. But you know what? I made a post a couple weeks ago positive on Bitcoin. And people say, oh, Hegna's account got hacked. He wouldn't be talking about Bitcoin. That's too risky. I said, look, I was the biggest Bitcoin non-believer in the world, okay? Because what is it? It's nothing. It's nothing, right? It's nothing. It's just whatever anybody will pay for it. But I watched this guy on CNBC lay out a legitimate case, at least for a non-believer like me, that Bitcoin could hit $500,000 or $1 million Bitcoin. And all he said is that, you know what, we're just recommending that our clients put 1%. 1% of their portfolio in Bitcoin. I said, 1%? I could do that. My account goes up and down more than 1% every day. If I lost 1%, it wouldn't affect my lifestyle. I put 1% into Bitcoin. Do you know that 1% grew to be about 25% of my portfolio? It's been the best performing asset class in the world over 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, and 10 years. So I'm not saying put 10% of your money. I said 1%. But why can I do that? Because I got these guarantees. So I can take a little risk on some of the other money. It allows me to do things that I wouldn't otherwise dare to do because I got so much of my money guaranteed. Income annuities are less expensive and safer for risk-averse retirees whose primary goal is is income security in retirement. Annuities allow a retiree to spend at a level that would otherwise require a high risk of failure funded solely from an investment portfolio. Why is that? Let me tell you why. You know, I get in front of a lot of annuity haters. I speak for attorneys and accountants and registered investment advisors, some of whom who hate annuities. And I say, okay, if you hate annuities, I'm going to give you a chance to prove me wrong. All you have to do is build a portfolio you think I can't beat. Yeah, put all the good stocks in there. Yeah, you do that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reach into that portfolio. I'm going to remove some of their bonds. I'm going to replace them with an income annuity. Do you know what that will do to every single one of those portfolios? Every single one of them. It'll lower the risk and increase the returns. But do you know why? It's because inside of a portfolio, the way that an income annuity functions, it functions like a AAA rated bond because it comes every month guaranteed for the rest of your life, with a CCC rated yield because the payout rate's so much higher than what you can get from anything else, with 0 standard deviation. It never fluctuates. So next time you get an annuity hater, say, okay, let's throw the annuity out. What if I could find you a AAA rated bond with a CCC rated yield with 0 standard deviation? Oh man, I'd love that. Yeah, that's what you got right there. That's how the annuity functions inside of a portfolio. And again, these aren't my opinions. These are mathematical, scientific, and economic facts. Here's the American College, how annuities can increase happiness in retirement. A stable income is often the difference between living well and living in a state of perpetual worry. And this truth doesn't change just because someone retires. So why should somebody have guaranteed lifetime income? Well, it's all about the mortality credits. See, every check you get from an insurance company, from an annuity, is composed of 3 parts. Part number 1 is principal. That's the blue box. Anybody can give you principal. Part number 2 is interest or investment gain. That's that aqua green box. Anybody can give that to you. But the secret sauce of annuities are the mortality credits. This extra money from the risk pool. The older you are and the longer you live. Real estate does not have mortality credits. Stocks and bonds do not have mortality credits. CDs do not have mortality credits. Only a life insurance company can manufacture mortality credits. Now, this is how it works in a SPIA or a DIA. Every check is part principal, part interest, part mortality credits. That's not how it works in a variable annuity or an index annuity. So if you're selling index or VA, let me show you how that works. When you put money in an index or VA, you put your principal in there. All the gains grow tax deferred. You don't pay any tax while it's growing. When the money starts coming out, the interest comes out first. That's taxable. Then the principal comes out, non-taxable. And then mortality credits are paid out for the rest of a person's life. That's taxable. All right? So that's how the mortality credits work in a fixed indexed annuity or in a variable annuity when you're turning on a lifetime income. So people say, well, Tom, what are mortality credits? I don't understand. Okay, I have a simple story. Every year there were 5 90-year-old ladies who went on vacation. One year, one lady said, hey, let's each put $100 in this box. We'll tape up the box, and next year we go on vacation, we'll bring the box with us, and those of us who are still alive, we'll open the box and we'll split the money. They said, Helen, that is a great idea. So you got 5 90-year-old ladies, they put $100 in the box, that's $500. They taped up the box. What do you think happened the next year? No, they forgot where they put the box. No, I just made that one up. No, unfortunately, one of the ladies died. So now 4 ladies opened the box. They split the $500. They each get $125. Now, that was a 25% return in 12 months. I got 2 questions for you. How much of that money was invested in the stock market? 0. What interest rate did they earn in that market? 0. How do they get paid 25% with no money in the market or no interest rate? Is because they got paid mortality credits. So ladies look at this. They look at the brokerage account. They said, hey, this is a pretty good deal. I'm going to put it back in the box, tape it back up, and do it again. So they decided to let it ride. The next year, one more lady died. So now 3 ladies split the $500. They each get $167. That was a 67% return in 2 years. No money in the market, no interest rate. Why? Because they got paid mortality credits. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, yeah, but Tom, my clients don't want their money to disappear when they die. When they buy an annuity, do they have to have the money disappear when they die? No, the check could continue to their spouse. They could set up, it could continue to their son or their daughter. There's a story in Paychecks and Playchecks where I was speaking in Houston at the IMAX Theater. There's 400 people in this, and I'm down here in this well, and they're all up here. And I get done, and this 80-something-year-old guy comes and says, well, Tom, that's pretty good, but what should I do with my money? I said, sir, I don't even know you. I don't know how much money you have. I don't know your search. But I said, if you can answer these 2 questions for me, I can help you. And I said, what do you want your money to do while you're alive? That's a powerful question. What do you want your money to do while you're alive? And then what do you want it to do when you die? And he said, well, nobody's ever asked me that before, but here's what I want. I want to get a guaranteed paycheck every month for the rest of my life. When I die, I want it to go to my wife for the rest of her life. When she dies, I want it to go to my son for the rest of his life. And then when he dies, I want it to go to his wife for the rest of her life. And then when she dies, I want it to go to my granddaughter for the rest of my granddaughter's life. That's what I want. I said, well, that's easy. You can do that with one annuity. Did you know that? You can do that with one annuity. How do you do it? You do a joint life annuity, SPIA, with the grandpa and the granddaughter. So it's joint life on them. You name the wife as the successor owner because the owner gets a check. So now he gets a check for the rest of his life. When he dies, she gets it for the rest of her life. She names the son as the successor owner. When she dies, the son gets it for the rest of his life. When he dies, he names his wife as the successor owner. When he dies, the wife gets it for the rest of her life. And when she dies, the granddaughter gets it for the rest of her life. One annuity can do that. Did you know that? Your clients don't know that. You know, I talk about John D. Rockefeller a lot, and one of the things I would do with clients is I'd hand them a piece of paper, and there's 4 lines on the top, and there's 8 lines on the bottom. I said, hey, do me a favor. Jot down the first and last name of your 4 grandparents. Just take a couple minutes. Almost everybody can do that. And then I said, you know what? Do me another favor. Jot down the first and last name of your 8 great-grandparents. Go ahead. I'll wait. I've never been on an appointment where somebody remembered the first and last name of their 8 great-grandparents. And I said, you know what's so interesting about that? John D. Rockefeller's great-great-great-great-great-great-grandkids, they all remember him. See, what we've found is that if you get a check from somebody every year, it increases your memory. So Mr. or Mrs. Grandparent, if you never want to be forgotten, set that payment to come on that granddaughter's birthday, every birthday for the rest of her life. She will never, ever forget your name. That's in Paychecks and Playchecks as well. All right, now, math and science is very important to me because I travel around the world teaching people how to retire. It better be right. I mean, think about it. I'm on PBS in 80 million homes. Golly, I sure hope it's correct. But for your clients, there's something more important than math and science. I call it the happy factor. So let me ask you a very simple question. When you retire, do you want to be happy or do you want to be unhappy? Well, some of you are never happy, but most of you want to be happy, and that's good because the Wall Street Journal discovered the secret to a happier retirement. Take a look at this. The secret to a happier retirement is friends, neighbors, and a fixed annuity. See, the Wall Street Journal studied who are the happiest people in retirement. You know what they found? People surrounded by their friends, surrounded by their families, who had guaranteed paychecks every single month. In fact, let me ask you a simple question. Who are the happiest retired clients you have? I'll bet it's your retired military, retired government, retired teacher, retired firefighter. It's people with pensions. See, study after study after study show people with pensions are much happier in retirement than people who don't have pensions. Do you understand? Happiness in retirement is tied almost 100% to guaranteed lifetime income, not assets. Who are the most miserable people you know? They're loaded. They got assets out the wazoo, but they're losing money in stocks. They're losing money in Bitcoin. They're losing money in gold or oil. These people are miserable. Assets make people miserable in retirement. What makes people happy is guaranteed lifetime income. Look, Time magazine found the same thing in Great Britain. Lifetime income stream key to retirement happiness. A new study in a land of grumps reveals that retirees with a guaranteed lifetime income stream can find true happiness. If you don't believe me, look at this. The American College, how annuities can increase happiness in retirement. When clients know how much income they will receive every month for life, they know what kind of housing and activities they can afford, allowing them to choose a lifestyle that makes them the happiest. Here's Greenwald and Associates. Respondents said the greatest benefits of having a protected lifetime income are protection against longevity risk, peace of mind, and being better able to budget, all of which can make for a less stressful and happier overall retirement. Dr. Michael Finke, Dr. Wade Faust, certainty provides confidence. This is one of the reasons that retirees who've incorporated income annuities in their retirement planning report higher levels of satisfaction. So let me pause for a moment. I have proven to you mathematically and scientifically your client's portfolio will do better if you add a little guaranteed lifetime income. I hope I've shown you they're likely to be happier in retirement if you add a little guaranteed lifetime income. Now you know what the research shows? They're likely to live longer as well. Look, some of you follow me on Facebook and LinkedIn, and if you don't, you probably should. I post a lot of neat stuff, a lot of fun stuff on retirement. I recently posted a Freakonomics study. It's actually a University of Chicago study. Freakonomics picked up on it, pushed it out through social media. It was a University of Chicago study that studied people who bought income annuities versus people who didn't. You know what they found? The people that bought the income annuities lived longer than the people that didn't. Here's what the research shows. Research shows that people who buy annuities tend to live longer. And not just because they're the kind of people that have the money to buy annuities to start with. It's apparently that little extra incentive of the annuity payout that keeps people going. Oh, I think I can hang on for one more check. I can live another 30 days. I'm going to stick it to them one more time. And they tend to live longer. Now, the best article I've ever read on this subject was published about 2.5 years ago in the Journal for Financial Service Professionals. So if you're a CLU, CHFC, you get this magazine. And it was written by attorney Patrick Tricker. The title of the article was, Annuities and Moral Hazard. Can longevity insurance increase longevity? Here's what he found. In the United States, a 65-year-old male who purchases a life annuity can expect to live about 20% longer than a 65-year-old male who does not. And the whole rest of the article explained why people who have guaranteed income tend to live longer. And I'm talking pretty dumb, stupid things like they don't have as much stress. They don't worry. When the market crashes 40%, they go play another 18 holes of golf with their buddy. And because they're being paid to live, guess what? Many of them choose to live differently. They watch what they eat. They exercise. They see the doctor when they're not feeling well. And all these dumb, stupid things cause them to tend to live longer. Now, I told you this was new research. There's nothing new about this. Do you realize annuities have been around for thousands of years? The Roman Empire issued annuities. See, running out of money has been the number one concern of people ever since there's been people and there's been money. It is not a new concern. Many of you had to read a book in high school or college. It was called Sense and Sensibility. It was written by Jane Austen in 1811. It's considered a classic. Does anybody happen to remember what Jane Austen wrote about annuities back in 1811? Well, let me refresh your memory from chapter 2. If you observe, people always live forever when there's an annuity to be paid to them. The annuity is a very serious business. It comes over and over every year, and there is no getting rid of it. She wrote that in 1811. Step number two. So step number 1 was cover your basic living expenses with guaranteed lifetime income. Step number 2 is optimize the rest of their portfolio to protect them against inflation. So we covered their basic living expenses with that. Now with the rest of the money, that's where the investments fit. That's where stocks fit. That's where real estate fits. That's where Bitcoin can fit. Whatever they want. I stay out of the investment world. That's what you need to help them with. But they need to invest in things that go up in times of inflation. So if we do have inflation, you want the portfolio to go up. Why? Because then there's more money to take out more money to match the purchasing power. Now, there's other ways you can protect yourself against inflation. There are annuities that increase their payment every year by 2, 3, 4, 5%. You can do that. Or you can do what I've done. I bought income annuities that started at age 60, but then I bought more that started at 62. I bought more that started at 65. I bought more that started at 70. So I am guaranteed to have increasing income for the rest of my life. So you can do it any way you want, but you got to put inflation protection into their portfolio. Step number 3, you must have a plan for long-term care. No retirement plan is complete without a plan for long-term care. This is the number one thing that your clients have not planned for that can wipe out their entire life's work. In Paychecks and Playchecks, there's a chapter on long-term care. You know what the chapter's titled? What's your plan? What's your plan? Because if you've ever seen me speak, you know I brag about my plan. What's my plan? I never have to go to a nursing home, ever. I get to stay in my house till the day I die. The nurse has to come to me. And my favorite part, I get to pick the nurse. So look, so when people say, I don't want any of that nursing home insurance, your answer ought to be exactly. This is anti-nursing home insurance. This is stay-at-home insurance. This is stay-in-control insurance, all right? It's very personal to me because both my parents had Alzheimer's, okay? And this was before they had Alzheimer's. I made them buy long-term care insurance 18 years ago. They didn't want to. It's too expensive. We'll never need it. It's an insurance company ripoff. Those were the words my dad said to me. I made them buy it. They were both in assisted living. $10,000 a month. $10,000 a month. Do you understand there were years my dad didn't even make $10,000 a year? He was a teacher in a small town in Minnesota. So was my mom. There were years they never made $10,000 a year. It was $10,000 a month. I can't imagine their retirement without those policies. So if somebody says, oh, that long-term care insurance is just too expensive, here's what I say. If you think long-term care insurance is expensive, man, you ought to try not having it. That'll wipe you out. See, the odds of your house burning down between now and the day you die are less than 3 out of 100, but you all got homeowners insurance. Every one of you does. The odds of you totaling your car between now and the day you die are 18 out of 100. Oh, you got to have automobile insurance. But the odds of you needing some form of long-term care between now and the day you die are 72 out of 100. Oh, I think I'm going to let that one go. That's the one they need. They need to have something. You know, you can think you got it all set. Oh, Tom, I don't need that. I got stocks, I got bonds, I got real estate. I'm all set. Oh, yeah? You have an unplanned long-term care event. It can literally wipe you out. And so what I want you to think of it is a long-term care plan is a shield. It's a shield that protects all your other assets so that you can spend them and give them the way you want to instead of the way you're going to have to if you don't have a plan. You know, a lot of people think retirement's 30 or 40 years of golf, tennis, pickleball, and line dancing. That's not true. You're going to go through 3 distinct phases. Let me show you what your retirement's really going to look like. The first phase of your retirement is what I call the go-go years. Now, the go-go years, you're playing golf, you're playing tennis, you're playing pickleball, you're going on cruises every day, it's happy hour somewhere. That's the go-go years. But make no mistake about it, the go-go years are going to be followed by the slow-go years. Now, the slow-go years, you can still do everything in the go-go. You just don't want to anymore. Fact is, you don't want to go downtown after 4:30 because Dad can't see when it's dark out. That's the slow-go years. And the slow-go years are going to be followed by the no-go years. And the no-go years are those years when you're probably not leaving the building till you're leaving the building, if you know what I'm talking about. So we got go-go, slow-go, no-go. This is what I learned watching my parents go through these phases. I learned that the go-go years is all about income. And that's why nearly 100% of my purchases are going for income in my go-go years. Your go-go years is all about income. The slow-go years, that's all about long-term care. And here's what I say about long-term care. Any plan is better than no plan. So I sincerely hope you sell long-term care insurance. I hope you do. But if you don't, I hope you sell life insurance with a long-term care rider. And if you have people who cannot qualify medically for either one of those options, I hope you sell an annuity that springs up with a bunch of income in their 70s and 80s. Any plan is better than no plan, but you got to have a plan. And the no-go years, that's all about life insurance. Now, I get plenty of people who say, Tom, life insurance has nothing to do with retirement. Wrong, 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 wrong. Life insurance has everything to do with retirement. Do you understand? It is the life insurance you bring into retirement that gives you the license to spend all of your money. Remember, you are supposed to spend all of your money. You're not supposed to give a single penny to your kids. Spend it all. Spend it all. Leave them life insurance. Look, I said most of your clients are not overspending, they're underspending. And one of the reasons is they say, well, you know, I got to leave some money to Johnny and Susie. We got to leave some money to Johnny and Susie. So they deny themselves the retirement they're entitled to give money to their kids. Let me use me as an example. So we got 4 kids. So one day we're sitting around saying, hey, how much should we leave the kids? My wife said, I don't know. What do you think? I said, well, If we bought a $1 million second to die life insurance policy, name the 4 kids a beneficiary, when we're both gone, they're going to get $1 million tax-free. That's $250,000 apiece tax-free, plus whatever's left over. Let's start there. So we bought a $1 million second to die life insurance policy, name the 4 kids a beneficiary. That policy is completely paid up. Do you know what the total cost of that $1 million policy was? $150,000. So now think about that. For 15 cents on the dollar, we transfer $1 million tax-free to our kids. But here's the best part. Who gets to spend all the rest of the money? We do. Show your clients that they can have a much better retirement if they buy life insurance to go to the kids, and then they can spend all of their money. And the reason they're not spending is they don't know how long they're going to live. And they don't know what to do. But an annuity can guarantee they will never, ever, ever, ever run out of income. It is the only product in the world they can buy that will guarantee they will never, ever, ever run out of income. Step number 4. The most efficient way to pass wealth to children, grandchildren, and charities is with life insurance. Get them to buy life insurance to go to those other places. They can then spend their money. They can have a better retirement. So I told you not to give money to the kids. I'm going to tell you right now, don't give any money to your grandchildren either. And I'm going to show you why. We met with Annie. Annie said, Tom, I've got 6 grandchildren. I got $100,000 down at the bank. It's earning 1%. I don't care. I don't need this money. This is my just-in-case money. And I named my grandchildren as beneficiary. And when I die, they're each going to get a little over $16,000. Well, that's a nice grandma. But if that's her just-in-case money, why did she put it in the bank? Why didn't she put it in a life insurance policy? Are you aware many of these senior policies now have full money-back guarantees, so she can get all her money out if she needs it. But when she dies, each grandchild gets $36,000 instead of $16,000. Don't leave your grandchildren money. Leave them life insurance because you can leave them so much more. What about charitable giving? Here's Al and Helen. They tithe to their church. They give to their university. They saved up $50,000. They want to give to charity. But when they started talking about it, they each want to give $50,000. Well, how do you give $100,000 to charity if all you got is $50,000? Put it in a life insurance policy. It immediately creates $100,000 or more of gifting power. You want to leave more money to charity? Don't leave them money. Leave them life insurance. You can leave them so much more. What about protecting Social Security benefits? Here, the husband gets $2,100 a month. The wife gets $1,100 a month. What happens when he dies? Well, she gets his. What happens to hers? It's gone. So her income goes down. What happens to her taxes? They were filing joint. Now she has to file single. So her income goes down. Her other thing goes up. What could protect her from this? The taxes go up. What could protect her? Life insurance. And just so you know, people over the age of 60 buy more life insurance than people under the age of 60. Have you ever heard Dave Ramsey say, oh, well, you don't need life insurance when you're older because then your 401k and all your investments are up there. You don't need it. I can prove that wrong just like this because who buys the biggest policies? Old, rich people buy the biggest policies. If you didn't need life insurance when you're old and rich, they wouldn't buy any. They buy the most. Don't think your older clients don't need life insurance. They do. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up here, but one of the things I've done, my new model is I'm putting together all these free webinars. You don't even need credit cards. So if you want to just go to tomhegna.com/webinars, there's a free webinar on how to thrive in this post-lockdown environment. There's a free webinar on how to sell more life insurance. There's a free webinar on my Don't Worry, Retire Happy, my PBS talk. It's called 7 Simple Stories That Sell, but that's really the Don't Worry, Retire Happy talk. There's one on handling client objections, and there's one on how to deliver powerful webinars. Every one of those are free. I'd encourage you to watch every single one of them. You will get an hour packed, just like this one. You're going to get an hour packed of stuff in every one of those webinars. So let me wrap up my portion this way. I can't tell you if the market's going to go up or if the market's going to go down. I don't know. Are we going to have inflation? Are we going to have deflation? I don't know. But I do know this. If you cover your basic living expenses with guaranteed lifetime income, and then you optimize the rest of your portfolio to protect yourself from inflation, if you have a plan for long-term care and you use life insurance as the most efficient way to pass wealth to children, grandchildren, and charities, I do know this. Each and every one of you and your clients can have a happy and successful retirement that is based in math and science, not based on some broker's opinion. So that's what I had for you today. I don't know we're on time. Do we want to take a couple questions or do we got time for just a couple questions? Any questions for me? Any questions? I'm playing the best I ever played. I told them last summer, I won the club championship at my country club, and I'm the oldest club champion in course history, and I take tremendous pride. To me, that was one of the best life events. Seriously, I've spoken main platform, top of the table, main platform in Bangkok, main platform in Singapore, and I put that club championship right up there with all the best things I've ever done in my life. And I won it on the 36th hole in front of the whole club. I was down one going into the 18th hole, par 5 over water, had to hit a 240 over water shot, put it on the fringe, made birdie. The other guy played it safe, missed the green, took bogey. I took birdie, bam. It was just the coolest day ever. So, yes. It is in the book, but all you do is you set up joint life with grandpa and granddaughter. And as long as one of them is alive, the check is coming. If they both die, the check will end. But assuming the granddaughter lives longer than everybody else, grandpa gets it for the rest of his life. He names his wife as a successor owner. So when he dies, she gets a check. She names the son as a successor owner. When she dies, he gets the check. He names his wife as a successor owner. When he dies, she gets the check. And when she dies, the granddaughter gets the check for the rest of her life. That thing can pay out for 100 years. One annuity. Now remember, the payout's going to be lower because it's going to be based off the 5-year-old granddaughters. But that's the story is it pays a lot of money. Yes.
Are all of those successors named at the time of the application?
No, and that's the thing. Most companies only allow one successor owner. So somebody's got to be there to make sure it all happens. You know, that's kind of up to you and your staff. But I'm just saying it can be done, and I illustrate it. But you know, what are the odds that everybody's going to remember to do those successor owners? But if they do, it will work. And not all companies allow successor owners. You got to figure out which companies will do that. I know New York Life does, and there are others that do. Yes. I have annuities from all different kinds of companies. You know, I spent 8 years at MetLife, so I got a MetLife annuity. I spent 15 years at New York Life, so I got some New York Life. I've got Mutual of Omaha. I've got a Thrivent. I've got Athene. I've got, I have AIG. So I've got a bunch of different annuities. I don't just stick with necessarily one company all the time. Anything else? I will be back by the iced tea over there because I don't want to interrupt the meeting. But if you want to get your book signed, I did that whole section, but I didn't get everybody else's. If you want to, I'll be there for probably, in fact, why don't I go over to this side? And if you want, I'll sign your book. If you don't, no big deal.
Take a minute and tell about your family real fast.
I got 4 kids. Been married 38 years to the same woman. All right, we had two boys. One's 36, one's 34. We were done. Well, then the boys got to be teenagers, and then mom wasn't as important as she used to be, and she had trouble with that. So she said, "What's life all about? Let's have another one." So then we had JJ, and then we had JJ. She said, "Well, we can't just have one. We got to have 2." And then we have 4. So then we got Sammy. She's our girl. So we got 3 boys and a girl, and there's like 13 or 14 years between the sets. So it's like. We call them the bigs and the littles. And there's a story in Paychecks and Playchecks about JJ. JJ's 21 now, but when he was 8, he had a brain tumor the size of a tennis ball in the back of his brain. And he had to go in for brain surgery. And for several days, it was touch and go. We don't know if we'd ever get him back. And so that's why I say, you know, I always buy big policies on my kids when they're born to protect their insurability. Because for many years, JJ was uninsurable. Well, he applied for an ROTC scholarship. That's what I went to school on. It was an Army ROTC scholarship. He got it, but it was like, you wouldn't believe what we had to go through. We had to go back to that surgeon, and they had to do more studies, and they had to write letters and say that he was okay to even let him get in the Army. So he'll be commissioned next May. Yep. Anything else? I'll turn it back over to Cody, I think, right? Okay, so thank you very much for having me.